My friends, we gather today under a title that stirs the imagination: India vs. Pakistan, the battle for regional supremacy. Now, some may hear those words and think of armies, of borders, of old rivalries, but I stand before you to say the true battle is not about who can raise the loudest voice or wield the strongest fist. The true battle, the one that matters, is about who can lift their people higher. It is a battle for education. Who will build schools that ignite the minds of millions of young boys and girls? Who will unlock the potential of a generation not yet bound by the past, but eager to shape the future? It is a battle for health. Who will ensure that a mother in Karachi or a father in Delhi does not lose their child to a preventable disease? Who will invest not in fear, but in life, in medicine, in hope? It is a battle for opportunity. Who will create economies where a young entrepreneur from Lahore or a coder from Bangalore can build something that changes the world? It is a battle for peace. Who will rise above division and say, we will not be trapped by history, we will be authors of tomorrow? You see, supremacy is not found in the number of soldiers or the size of missiles. Supremacy is found in the strength of your democracy. Supremacy is found in the dignity you give your citizens. Supremacy is found when you choose unity over conflict, progress over paralysis, hope over fear. And let me tell you this, the world is watching. The world wants to see not a South Asia divided, but a South Asia that rises. Not a story of enmity, but a story of possibility. So yes, India and Pakistan stand at a crossroads. You can fight the old battle of suspicion and hostility, or you can fight the new battle of innovation and progress. That choice, my friends, will determine who truly holds supremacy in this century. And if history has taught us anything, it is this: the nations that lead are the nations that lift. The nations that win are the nations that build. The nations that endure are the nations that believe. That is the battle before you. That is the test of our time. And together, if we choose the higher path, then one day the story will not be about rivals, but about neighbors who turned competition into cooperation and wrote a chapter of history worth remembering. Thank you. God bless you. And may God bless the future of South Asia. For far too long, when people hear the word supremacy, their minds turn to power measured in armies, in weapons, in the ability to dominate or intimidate. In South Asia, this idea has been especially powerful. India and Pakistan, two proud nations, often viewed supremacy through the lens of conflict, rivalry, and mistrust. But my friends, I am here to say that this definition of supremacy belongs to the past. It is too small for the challenges we face and too narrow for the opportunities before us. True supremacy cannot be measured by the size of your arsenal, but by the scope of your vision. It is not determined by who can command the greatest force of destruction, but by who can build the strongest foundation of hope. Supremacy in the truest sense is not about conquering your neighbor. It is about conquering your own limitations. Think for a moment about what it means to lead the world today. The nations that inspire us, the nations that are admired across the globe, are not simply those with the biggest militaries. They are the ones that invest in their people. They are the ones whose children are learning, whose workers are thriving, whose societies are open and inclusive. Supremacy is the quiet power of a village girl in Rajasthan who can read a book for the first time. Supremacy is the dignity of a farmer in Punjab, Pakistan, who has access to clean water and can feed his family. Supremacy is the opportunity for a young entrepreneur in Bangalore or Karachi to dream beyond boundaries and shape the future with innovation. When India and Pakistan look at each other, too often the question has been, who will dominate? But the real question should be, who will deliver? Who will deliver on the promise of justice for their people? Who will deliver jobs for the young, healthcare for the sick, dignity for the poor? That is where supremacy lies, because in this century, power is no longer defined by the shadows of fear, but by the light of possibility. Supremacy is not about building walls of separation, but bridges of cooperation. Supremacy is not about the past we inherit, but the future we create. And here's the truth in this interconnected world. No nation's supremacy is secure if its people are left behind. You cannot call yourself supreme if your children are hungry. You cannot call yourself supreme if your hospitals are broken. You cannot call yourself supreme if half your population, your women, are denied opportunity. Supremacy requires courage. Supremacy requires compassion. Supremacy requires the moral strength to say our power comes not from fear, but from fairness, not from division, but from dignity. So let us redefine what supremacy means in South Asia. Let us make it a race for better schools, not better missiles. Let it be a competition for healthier citizens, not larger armies. Let it be measured by how much hope we create, not how much fear we spread. That, my friends, is the supremacy worth fighting for. When we talk about the future of nations, when we talk about who will lead this century, one truth stands out above all others. The answer lies in the hands of our young people. In India and Pakistan, more than half the population is under the age of 30. Think about that for a moment. That means both nations are sitting on an ocean of energy, creativity, and possibility. The question is not whether the youth will shape the future. The question is, what kind of future will they be given the chance to shape? Now, too often in history, young people in South Asia have been told that their destiny is limited by borders, that their dreams are constrained by rivalry, that their lives must be defined by the past. But I believe differently. I believe that the youth of India and Pakistan do not need to inherit the battles of yesterday. They deserve the opportunities of tomorrow. Because a young girl in Lahore does not wake up thinking about geopolitics. She wakes up thinking about whether she'll be allowed to finish school. A young boy in Mumbai does not dream of war. He dreams of becoming a doctor or an engineer, or maybe the one who creates the next breakthrough in technology. Across both nations, the young are not asking for conflict. They are asking for opportunity. That is why the true supremacy of a nation is measured in how it treats its youth. Will governments provide quality schools in every neighborhood, not just in the wealthy ones? Will leaders ensure that every child can log onto the internet, not just to consume information, but to create, to innovate, to compete in the global marketplace? Will they invest in skills and training so that when a young graduate leaves university, she does not walk into despair but into dignity? If India and Pakistan want to lead this region, then let them compete in building universities, not in building stockpiles of weapons. Let them outdo each other in scholarships, not in suspicion. Let them race to see who can empower more women, who can lift more families out of poverty, who can turn more dreams into realities. That is the kind of competition that does not divide nations. It uplifts them. And let us not forget, young people are not only the future, they are the present. They are the volunteers serving in villages. They are the coders building apps that connect communities. They are the activists standing up for justice. They are the voice of change, already shaping our world in ways that the old guard could never imagine. The world is watching South Asia, and the world knows this. The region with the youngest population has the chance to be the region with the brightest future. But that depends on choices made today. Will leaders invest in their youth, or will they ignore them? Will they open doors of opportunity, or will they build walls of division? The destiny of India and Pakistan will not be written by politicians alone. It will be written in the hearts and minds of their young people. And if those young people are given the tools, the freedom, and the hope they deserve, then they will not just change South Asia, they will change the world. My friends, when we speak about the greatness of a nation, when we talk about what it truly means to be supreme, the answer cannot be found in skyscrapers or stock markets alone. The true measure of a nation's worth is how it treats its people. Supremacy in its deepest form is rooted in dignity, the dignity of every man, every woman, and every child. Because here is the truth: you cannot call yourself strong if your people are weak. You cannot claim greatness while millions live without clean water, or while parents pray that their children survive the night because hospitals are broken. Supremacy is not about how high your flag flies, but about whether your citizens stand tall with pride in their own humanity. India and Pakistan are lands of extraordinary potential, rich in culture, history, and tradition. But the real treasure of these nations is not found in monuments or in markets. It is found in the dignity of the people who live there. The farmer in Sindh who works from sunrise to sunset, the teacher in Bihar who keeps the flame of knowledge alive despite limited resources, the young woman in Islamabad or Chennai who dreams of equal opportunity in the workplace. Their dignity is the soul of the nation. And yet too often, that dignity has been denied. Too many families and villages go hungry. Too many voices of women and minorities are silenced. Too many workers labor without fair wages, without safety, without hope. If India and Pakistan are to lead, if they are to rise to true supremacy, then they must begin here by restoring and protecting the dignity of their people. Dignity means that every child has the right to go to school and not to the factory floor. Dignity means that health is not a privilege for the rich, but a promise for all. Dignity means that no person is judged by the faith they follow or the language they speak, but by the content of their character and the contributions they make. When governments fail to honor the dignity of their citizens, they may achieve short-term power, but they will never achieve lasting supremacy. Because real strength comes not from fear, but from fairness. It comes not from coercion, but from compassion. It comes when leaders understand that their duty is not just to govern, but to serve. Imagine a South Asia where the dignity of every citizen is respected, where a mother in Kashmir, a student in Karachi, and a worker in Kolkata all feel valued, all feel protected, all feel that their nation sees them and hears them. That is the kind of dignity that builds trust. That is the kind of dignity that creates stability. That is the kind of dignity that commands respect from the world. So let us redefine leadership, not as the pursuit of power for its own sake, but as the responsibility to lift people up. For the nations that lead with dignity will not just earn supremacy. They will earn the enduring respect of history. My friends, if there is one truth that history has always shown us, it is this: the nations that rise, the nations that endure, the nations that lead, are the nations that create opportunity for their people. Not just for the privileged few, not just for those born into wealth or status, but for every worker, every dreamer, every child with ambition in their heart. India and Pakistan stand today at a turning point. With vast populations, abundant resources, and some of the brightest young minds in the world, they have before them an incredible choice. They can remain locked in a cycle of rivalry, spending billions on weapons that gather dust, or they can invest those billions in building a future where every citizen has the chance to succeed. Because let's be clear, economic opportunity is the true currency of supremacy. Supremacy is not measured by how many fighter jets you own, but by how many families you lift out of poverty. Supremacy is not about military might, but about the strength of your middle class. Supremacy is not about walls and borders, but about bridges of trade, ideas, and innovation. Think about the potential that lies in the hands of a young coder in Karachi who just needs internet access to launch an idea to the world. Think about the farmer in Uttar Pradesh who, with better technology and fair markets, could feed not just his village, but contribute to a growing global economy. Think about the young women in Lahore, Bangalore, or Dhaka who, if given equal opportunity, could double the economic strength of their countries. That is where real supremacy is found, in unleashing the power of people to dream, to create, to build. But opportunity does not come by chance. It comes by choice. It comes from policies that prioritize education and training. It comes from governments that value entrepreneurship, that cut the red tape strangling small businesses, that open the doors of credit and capital not just to the rich, but to the poor with big ideas. It also comes from fairness, because an economy cannot thrive if corruption eats away at its foundation. It cannot prosper if inequality divides its people. It cannot endure if half the population, women, are denied their rightful seat at the table. True economic opportunity must be inclusive, broad-based, and just. And let's not forget, in today's world, economies are not isolated. They are connected. The choice India and Pakistan face is not just whether to compete, but whether to collaborate, to turn trade routes into lifelines of prosperity, to turn shared challenges like climate change into shared opportunities for innovation. So I say this: the nation that wins this century will not be the nation that spends the most on weapons, but the nation that spends the most on its people. The nation that fosters creativity, rewards hard work, and gives every citizen a fair shot. That nation will be truly supreme. Because when opportunity is unlocked, when the talents of millions are unleashed, there is no force on earth that can hold a nation back. That is the battle worth fighting. That is the supremacy worth seeking. My friends, for generations, India and Pakistan have carried the heavy weight of history. A history of division, of mistrust, of wars that scarred families and left wounds that still ache today. And yet, if we have learned anything from that long and painful past, it is this: conflict consumes, but peace creates. Conflict destroys, but peace builds. Conflict divides, but peace unites. Too often, leaders have chosen the easier path, the path of hostility, the path of suspicion. It is easy to point fingers. It is easy to stoke fear. It is easy to let the ghosts of yesterday dictate the choices of today. But my friends, real leadership demands something harder. It demands the courage to choose peace over conflict. Because, let us be clear, no nation has ever truly prospered through endless hostility. You can build missiles, you can deploy armies, you can erect barriers of steel and stone. But if your people are hungry, if your schools are broken, if your hospitals are empty, then what victory have you truly won? The real victory is not in outmatching your neighbor on the battlefield. The real victory is in outdoing yourself in the classroom, in the marketplace, in the laboratory, in the arts. The true battle is not who can unleash the most destruction, but who can unleash the greatest imagination. Think about what peace could mean for South Asia. Imagine trade routes open and thriving, goods moving freely across borders, farmers and businesses finding new markets. Imagine joint universities where the best minds from Delhi and Islamabad sit side by side solving global challenges. Imagine scientists from Karachi and Bangalore working together on breakthroughs in medicine and technology. Imagine a region where instead of exporting hostility, we export innovation, culture, and hope. That is not weakness. That is strength. That is not surrender. That is supremacy. And let us also remember, peace is not just the absence of conflict. Peace is the presence of justice. Peace is the presence of fairness. Peace is when people feel secure in their homes, respected in their communities, and hopeful about their future. Of course, peace is never easy. It requires patience. It requires compromise. It requires leaders to rise above politics and think not about the next election, but about the next generation. But history tells us this: the nations that dared to lay down old hostilities, the nations that reached across divides, those nations became stronger, not weaker. So I say to India and Pakistan, the battle worth fighting is not against each other, but against poverty, against disease, against ignorance, against the challenges that truly hold us back. Choose that battle, and you will both be victors. Choose peace, and the world will not only take notice, it will stand in admiration. Because in the end, supremacy is not about how long you can sustain a conflict. Supremacy is about how boldly you can embrace peace. My friends, whether we like it or not, the eyes of the world are upon us. Every step taken in South Asia, every decision made in Delhi or Islamabad, every spark of conflict or every act of cooperation, all of it is magnified by the global spotlight. India and Pakistan are not just neighbors. They are two of the largest nations in the world, home to more than 1.5 billion people, representing cultures, traditions, and histories that stretch back thousands of years. When these nations move toward progress, the world takes notice. And when they fall into conflict, the world feels the tremors. That is the responsibility of living under the global spotlight. It means that your choices do not remain confined to your borders. Your choices ripple outward, into markets, into climate, into security, into the very fabric of international relations. And here's the truth: in today's interconnected world, no nation leads in isolation. Supremacy is not just about who dominates their region, but about who inspires beyond their region. The United States learned this lesson, Europe learned this lesson, and now South Asia must face it too. The question is not just who will lead in South Asia, but who will lead in the world. The global spotlight demands that India and Pakistan ask themselves, what story are we telling to humanity? Is it a story of endless rivalry, of borders guarded more fiercely than futures are built? Or is it a story of possibility? Two nations proving that even with history's weight, cooperation can triumph over division. Imagine the power of that story. Imagine the message it would send to Africa, to the Middle East, to regions still scarred by division. Imagine two nations once defined by conflict, now defined by collaboration. That would not just shift the balance of power in South Asia, it would inspire the entire world. And let us be honest, the world is hungry for that inspiration. At a time when we face global challenges, climate change, pandemics, economic instability, inequality, the nations that rise to true supremacy are not the ones that isolate themselves, but the ones that contribute solutions. India has the talent, the technology, and the democratic spirit to lead in innovation. Pakistan has resilience, creativity, and a youthful energy that cannot be ignored. Together, their potential under the global spotlight is extraordinary. But the spotlight is unforgiving. It highlights progress, yes, but it also exposes failure. It reveals the cracks of corruption, the scars of inequality, the shadows of injustice. So the choice is clear. Under the global spotlight, India and Pakistan can either be seen as nations trapped by their past or as nations bold enough to shape a new future. They can either be remembered as rivals who wasted their potential or as leaders who rose above history to light a path for the world. The global spotlight is not a burden, it is an opportunity. And if South Asia chooses wisely, it will not just claim supremacy in its region. It will claim a place among the great contributors to human progress. My friends, every generation faces a moment when history pauses, looks to them, and asks, what will you do? For India and Pakistan, that moment is now. The choices made today will echo not just for years, but for decades. And in this defining hour, we must summon the courage, the vision, and the faith to rise above old divisions and answer the call of history. Because let's be clear, the easy path is always there. The easy path is cynicism. The easy path is suspicion. The easy path is pointing fingers, shifting blame, clinging to the same old battles. But the easy path never leads to greatness. The easy path never leads to change. The easy path never wins the future. The harder path, the nobler path, is the path of cooperation, of progress, of hope. That is the path that challenges us to see not what divides us, but what unites us. That is the path that says, we do not have to be trapped by the chains of history. We can be authors of tomorrow. I call upon the leaders of South Asia, show your people not just the politics of power, but the politics of possibility. Show them that leadership is not about dominating your rival, but about lifting your citizens. Show them that true supremacy is not about missiles or armies, but about minds that innovate, hearts that care, and hands that build. And I call upon the youth, the millions of young men and women in Karachi, in Delhi, in Lahore, in Bangalore. You are not spectators in this story. You are the authors. You are the builders of a new South Asia. You are the dreamers who can turn conflict into cooperation, scarcity into abundance, despair into hope. Do not let anyone tell you that the future is already written. It is not. It belongs to you. To the teachers, the farmers, the workers, the artists, the entrepreneurs, your daily labor is the backbone of these nations. Your resilience, your sacrifice, your determination, that is the true engine of progress. And when you believe in a brighter tomorrow, when you stand for justice, when you raise your voices for fairness, you remind us all that change is possible. So let us hear the call of history, and let us answer it with courage. Let us answer it with compassion. Let us answer it with unity. Because when nations choose hope over fear, progress over paralysis, peace over conflict, they not only change their own destiny, they inspire the world. This, my friends, is the inspirational call of our time to rise above rivalry, to embrace opportunity, and to prove that even in a region marked by division, humanity can find common ground. And if India and Pakistan choose that path, if they dare to lead with vision and with heart, then one day the history books will not speak of enemies. They will speak of pioneers who showed the world that a better future is always possible. My friends, if there is one thread that runs through human history, it is this: rivalry does not have to end in ruin. It can be transformed into renewal. It can become the spark that drives progress, the challenge that inspires greatness. And so when we look at India and Pakistan, two proud nations, bound by history and divided by conflict, we must believe that their rivalry too can be turned into partnership. Because let us be honest, rivalry has already cost too much. It has cost resources that could have built schools. It has cost lives that could have brightened families. It has cost decades that could have been spent in shared prosperity. But the beauty of history is that it is never finished. The next chapter has not yet been written, and it is within the power of these two nations to decide, will rivalry define them, or will partnership transform them? Partnership does not mean the absence of competition. Nations will always compete for markets, for talent, for innovation. But competition does not have to be destructive. It can be constructive. It can push both sides to achieve more, to innovate faster, to educate better, to grow stronger. That is the kind of partnership that lifts everyone higher. Think about what partnership could mean in this region. Imagine a joint effort to combat climate change, where India's technology and Pakistan's resilience create solutions the whole world adopts. Imagine shared energy grids powering millions of homes across borders. Imagine cultural exchanges where artists and writers remind us that creativity knows no boundary. Imagine sports that bring people together, not as enemies on the field, but as neighbors celebrating human spirit. This is not naive optimism. This is the hard, necessary work of turning possibility into reality. And history gives us proof. Enemies have become allies before. Nations once divided by bloodshed have become partners in peace. Europe did it after 2 world wars. America and Japan did it after conflict. If they could, then why not South Asia? The hopeful tone of this vision is not meant to ignore the challenges. It is meant to rise above them. It is meant to say to every child in Delhi, in Lahore, in Karachi, in Bangalore, your future does not have to look like your past. It can be brighter, safer, more prosperous, if we dare to believe in it. And so I say this, the greatest supremacy is not in defeating your neighbor. The greatest supremacy is in defeating despair. The greatest supremacy is in showing the world that 2 nations with every reason to remain divided found the courage to come together. That is the hope that must guide us. That is the partnership that can change South Asia. And if India and Pakistan choose that path, then someday, generations from now, young children will look back and say, they turned rivalry into partnership, and in doing so, they changed the course of history. My friends, as we bring this journey to a close, let us remember that history is not written by the loudest voices of division, but by the steady hands of those who choose hope. The true measure of our nations will not be in what we tear down, but in what we build together. India and Pakistan have within them the power to turn rivalry into renewal, fear into faith, and conflict into cooperation. The future is waiting. The choice is ours. So let us walk forward with courage, with unity, and with unshakable hope.